So have you guys been here before? And you have? Yep. And you know? Okay. Have you done a bit of Kirtan before? You have? Okay. Yeah. So we'll stick to those mantras on the card there, or slightly different variations of those, but they're pretty much it. But yeah, just try and relax in the sound of the sacred mantras and Om Hare Om Om Hare Om Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Namaste. So if you haven't experienced Kirtan before, Kirtan is a way of washing away all the things that cover us, and us, understand that we are spiritual in essence, and our nature is love and happiness. We all want to be happy, and that's who we are in essence. And when we come into contact with these mantras, or we meditate on these mantras over time, gradually we can experience that who we really are, that essence of love and happiness, and we can share it with others around us as well, the more we begin to experience that ourselves. So we've got a really nice night tonight. We've got Jiva Krishnadas up soon giving a talk, but in the meantime we've got Amir to go through a guided meditation. So I'll hand you over to Amir.
All right. Namaste, everyone. We are going to do some mindfulness practice now. So please sit in a very comfy position for me, very relaxed, shoulders back, heads upright. And if you like, gently close your eyes. So in this mindfulness practice, we are going to become aware of the stresses we suffer from in our life. We all tend to experience stress in different ways almost every day. And oftentimes, the root cause of our stress resides in three things. Sometimes we stress about losing belongings we have today. The loved ones, the job, money, and so on. Sometimes we stress about not achieving what we desire to achieve in future. For example, not finding the perfect partner we would love to connect with, not getting the promotion we would like to get, not being able to buy the house or car, and so on. And sometimes we experience anxiety by meditating upon things that we possessed in the past that we don't possess today, and we regret about it. If you think deeply, many of our concerns and stresses reside in these three foundations. But let's investigate. Should we really be worried about these things? Why is that we stress about these things? The reason actually resides in two things. Number one, we are identifying ourselves with the body and think that losing the belongings of the body would ruin our life. And number two, we are believing that we are living eternally in this life, in this material world. None of these two facts are true. We are not our bodies. Most people believe they are their body, having a simplistic view on life. Waking up in the morning, looking at the mirror, thinking what we see in the mirror is us. And becoming unhappy as years pass on by noticing the body getting old. Let's look at some evidences from medicine. According to medical sciences, different organs of the body and the entire body itself go through a molecule renewal process. Every 6 weeks, for example, we are getting a complete new liver as a result of all the cells dying and the new ones replacing the old ones. Every 5 to 7 years, nearly all the molecules in our body get replaced with the new ones. What it means is, my body 7 years ago is actually dead today. But I'm not. I keep existing. I should ask myself, am I my body? Well, you may wonder, if I'm not my body, perhaps I'm my mind. But we often say my mind's driving me crazy, which actually indicates our lack of full control over the mind. Therefore, we can't be the mind either. Who am I then? I have based all my goals in life based on the fact that I'm my body, looking for belongings of the body, possessions, fame, name, having a good job, and so on. But if I'm not the body, what it means is that I need to reconsider the whole thing. Who am I? Who does have the answer for us? Who should I ask? According to Vedic scriptures, who we are is, we are all effulgent, eternal, spiritual beings, unborn and therefore undying, ever existing. We are simply having a journey on earth, experience on this planet, through the vehicle of this physical body we are given, and this subtle body, this wonderful computer called mind that we are given, to be able to live in this planet for a certain number of years. Once this journey's time's over, we're gonna continue. Not through this body, of course. So that's the number one reason that we investigated our identity. The second one, our illusion about time. Material world is bound by time. According to Vedic scriptures, time is the biggest destroyer in this world. It will take away everything from us. It's just a matter of time. We are not living in this world eternally, so we don't need to worry about the belongings and possessions we've got in here. This gives us such a relief, guys. Question now is, how can I truly realize in the core of my heart and become aware of my real identity? The answer is these wonderful mantras we are chanting here. Om Hari Om, that we chanted earlier. Gauranga, that we are going to chant now. Gopala, Krishna, and other mantras that we are chanting here today. These are spiritual sound vibrations, allowing all the dust and debris on our consciousness to get cleared and letting us realize who we really are and experience union with our original source and essence, which is actually what gives us the happiness we have always desired. So, without further ado, we are going to chant the wonderful mantra Gauranga in this breath meditation. Gauranga has 4 syllables. Go-ra-anga. So we are going to join the guys in the background, taking deep breath in and saying the mantra Gauranga on the exhale. Let's listen to this one, and from the second we will join them. Let's join. Let's do 2 more. Let the mantra resonate in your head and your mind and wash away all the worries you might be holding in your mind. All right, guys, please bring your focus back to the room and people around you or objects around you. And you can open your eyes, probably putting your palm together, creating some nice warmth and massaging your face. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I would like to invite our dear friend Jiva Krishnadas to come and give us a talk on spirituality. Namaste.
Okay. Thank you. Yep. Just here. Namaste, everybody. Before we do our talk today, I always like to offer respect to my teacher, Siddhasarupananda. So we'll just launch straight into our talk today. We don't have a lot of time. We're just going to continue with our talk last week, where we briefly started talking about reincarnation. And I'm not sure, a few of you were here last week. A few of you weren't, but so I'll just try and recap. This is kind of like part 2 of our talk, and I'll just try and recap quickly. For those of you who weren't here last week. Basically, and like I mentioned it last week, and I'll say it again now, we've only got like half an hour before we have our dinner break, so there's not a lot of time. I'm only going to be able to give like a bit of a broad sketch of what reincarnation is and how it works and why it's actually important to understand it, even just in not very much detail. You can get into it in a lot of detail if you like, but actually you get a good idea from even just a brief detail. So the first point, I'll just try and spend a few minutes, 5 minutes maybe, just starting from the beginning. So the first thing to know, if you want to do what reincarnation is, what reincarnate, the word means, incarnate means in the flesh. Carnal refers to flesh and blood, the physical body. So incarnate means somebody is in the physical body, and that is the real you, the spiritual soul. And then reincarnate means after the death of the physical body, the real you, the spiritual soul, doesn't die. I'll get back to it in a sec, but reincarnates means go into another body. So incarnate means in a body, reincarnate means go to another body after this one's finished. So from this statement, you can get the idea that the crucial thing to understand with reincarnation, a very basic principle you have to get, otherwise you won't understand reincarnation, is to understand the difference between the real you, the spiritual soul, as the yoga text put it, and your physical body. You are not your body. If you think you're your body, you're not going to understand reincarnation. So reincarnation, and even in general terms, it means the continuance. It means we're talking about an afterlife, life after the death of this body. So, Okay, so, we talked about, the other thing I should mention too is when we're talking about reincarnation, here at least, I'm not an upstart. I'm not making anything up. Everything we say is based on ancient yoga wisdom, based on the wisdom of the yoga texts, especially the Bhagavad Gita and one of the Puranas, the Bhagavad Purana, or sometimes known as the Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'm going to have a few quotes here today. As usual, we like to, just, base our talks on these very important yoga texts. So we also mentioned last week that depending on where we end up everybody okay with this so far? We've got our physical body. It's going to die at some point. You do not die. You go on. So the other thing we mentioned last week was there's two general destinations. There's, specifics, but generally a person can attain what's the spiritual dimension, and in that particular case, they don't reincarnate. They simply exist in their eternal spiritual body. Or if they don't attain that spiritual dimension, then there is reincarnation. Either way, you have to get this point that the spiritual soul, the real you, and we read a few texts last week, you are eternal. The spiritual soul is eternal. The nature of the real you is that you're eternal and you're forever young. I hope everybody's okay with saying that. We can get into a lot of detail explaining it. Just quickly, one way you can know it in a sense is, there's a saying, the soul is forever young, or you're only as old as you feel. Look at me, I've got an old body, but I don't feel old. I feel young as I did many, 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 many years ago. So this just gives us a little hint. Oh, yeah, okay. So, so what determines, we're talking about what determines what kind of body we have. This is what everybody should be pretty interested in. What kind of destination, or what do I want my destination to be? For us here following yoga wisdom, the principles, we understand that the goal of yoga is actually to get off of this wheel of birth and death, this continual cycle of reincarnation. And so let me... So that's what yoga's all about. But for those, let's go now to those who are not interested in yoga. What happens to a person not interested in yoga, not interested in spirituality, not interested in anything? What happens to that person after the death of the body? They reincarnate. Like for example, we say sometimes a person may or may not believe in the reality of the soul, the spiritual soul, but it's there nonetheless. You exist, you've got a body, you are eternal. Can't do anything about it. Done. It's a done deal. You can't do anything about your eternality. That's a given. What you can do, and what you do have a choice in, is where you're going to spend that time. What am I going to do with my eternal life? And again, all the great spiritual teachings are pointing us, to this attainment of this spiritual dimension where we do not have to reincarnate. So reincarnate. Where do we go when we reincarnate? What kind of body do we get? Everybody should be really interested in this, at least from the point of view of understanding that it will happen and what may happen. So we were talking last week, there's two main factors that determine what kind of body we reincarnate into. It's not by chance, it's not by blind fate, it's not like, roll the dice and, you might get lucky or unlucky. It's based on two things. Number one, your desires. What do you actually desire in life? So it's that. But desires, we need to explain a little bit what desires means. Desires means you live your life in a certain way. So according to what your desires are, you are sort of mapping out your future to some extent. Isn't that right? You know, we're, you know, like, I don't know, anybody here, you know, you have certain desires, you'd go and do certain things. You know, you may study, or you may try and make a lot of money or something. You're mapping out your future according to your desires. So desires plays a part, but it's not the whole story. There's also, in connection with that, there's our actions, what our actions are. If our actions are very much self-centred and, you know, done without care for others, and you know, unfortunately there's a lot of people do this, they do actions which are harmful to others, then that's kind of mapping out a future, isn't it? You're creating harm, so according to the laws of karma, you will have to suffer for what suffering you've caused. So there's these two things, our desires and our, what we call, you know, you can call it destiny or predestination. So it might seem like they go together. Like we gave the example last week, you know, my life is going on a certain track. So, you know, I've got a certain destiny, and each one of us has if we're going on a certain track. But then all of a sudden, in my particular case, you know, I'm trying to do good and so on. I'm trying to, you know, develop my spiritual consciousness and so on like this. So I'm going on a certain track if I, you know, so my destiny is being mapped out in a sense. But if I suddenly do some horrendous thing, like I just suddenly decide to kill a whole bunch of people, just murder them because I feel like it, and some people do that kind of thing, believe it or not, then my destiny changes, doesn't it? My track, which was previously going to be good, just veers away, and I create another. So this is going on from moment to moment. We have our desires, we're acting in a certain way, but according to how we act, it can change. So I'll read this quote now. It's a very nice quote describing how a little bit about this happens. The living entity is sometimes a male, sometimes a female, sometimes a eunuch, sometimes a human being, sometimes a demigod, sometimes a bird, an animal, and so on. In this way, the soul is wandering within the material world, and his acceptance of different types of bodies is brought about by his activities under the modes of nature. So there's kind of a lot in there, but basically it's saying that, you know, we can take birth in any, you know, in a great variety of different kinds of bodies, all spanning the spectrum from heavenly beings, heavenly bodies, to human form of life like we have now, and all the way down into animal species of life. Sometimes people question this, you know, sometimes people say, oh, you know, reincarnation means you only go up from one body, you always get a better body no matter what. Depends on what you do, again. You can't get around this basic underlying fact of cause and effect. If I'm a murderer, I can't expect to get a good result, right? Can I? I can't. It's crazy to think that. So it's all dependent on what we do and how we live our lives. So I'll go again here in general. The living entity, and here this particular verse is talking about what I just mentioned, these two things, desire and what's already our destiny, so to speak. The living entity, being influenced by so many desires, wanders in different species of life according to destiny. Sometimes he is high, sometimes low. Sometimes he goes to heavenly planets, sometimes to hellish conditions, and sometimes to the middle planets, and so on. So this is from the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Purana, these verses just describing. So it's just like I said, I'm not making anything up here. We go according to our desires. Sometimes we're high, sometimes we're low. And we can understand this really simply, this idea of cause and effect, just by looking around the world. And you know, I think most of us would have either in person or, you know, on film or something, seen the, you know, really terrible conditions in some third world countries where people are just born into just poverty, abject poverty. And, you know, the children are malnutrition and so on like that. They're born into a horrible situation. And you tell me if somebody actually wanted that. Sometimes people say, oh yeah, we want to reincarnate in every kind of different way just to experience everything. No. Nobody wants to experience that. You want to get out of that as quick as you can. You're telling me one of those people born in that situation is going to hang there and, oh, I need to experience all this pain and misery. No. So this is why, so, you know, hopefully, you know, we can't spend a lot of time on it, but, you know, this gives you an idea of how these, it's not by chance we get what we desire, and what how we're living our life will determine where we end up. It's really as simple as that. You want to know about where we go? Well, what do you want? How are you living your life? That's where you'll go. Yes.
Desire and action.
Yeah.
Is desire more like the stuff in your head, like the things that you spend time thinking about
Yes.
or wanting to do or planning about?
Yes.
And then the action is the activities of the body? Is that
Yes.
kind of a difference?
And one follows the other.
Yeah.
Like the desires, like we call it contemplation. If you contemplate something for long enough and, you know, intensely enough, eventually the action will follow.
Like pizza.
Yeah. Well,
Think about pizza for
yeah.
long enough, I'm going to eat pizza.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. We've all done that, right?
Yeah.
Will I get a pizza? Won't get a pizza? And it's just in your mind. Eventually, you go, yep.
Just get the pizza.
So that comes like that. It's exactly right. It's an important point.
Yeah.
Contemplation or desire, you can put it like that, then comes the action. So it's really important. That's why, you know, in the whole yoga process, it's all, you know, to a large extent, it's about, you know, learning how to keep your desires under control to some extent. And, you know, the opposite, at the opposite end of the spectrum, where you've got no control whatsoever. Most of us are in between. We're trying to control a little bit, but we're, you know, kind of weak a lot of the time. And, you know, and at the opposite end of the spectrum, where people got no control whatsoever, not interested in any of this, not interested in trying to understand what kind of future they're creating for themselves, just, yeah, whatever you feel like, do it, you know, drugs, this, that, alcohol, you know, yeah, da-da-da, anything, everything. And, you know, and then oftentimes what follows on from that is, you know, just treating other people badly or exploitatively in some way, you know. I mean, I look back on it, you know, before I, you know, started going on the path of yoga to some extent. I look back, I did some terrible things and thought some terrible things in my life. Don't know about you guys, if you're all pure from your whole life. I can tell you I wasn't. And, you know, so, yeah, so our contemplation, our desires leads to action, action leads to consequences. That's consequences. So there's another quote here which we'll go on to mention. This one talks now about the choices that are there. And when a person understands this, that, you know, it's all dependent on our choices. What do you want? You know, if a person decides, you know, I'm just in for it. I like my material enjoyments. I like the enjoyment I get from my physical body. I'm into it. Then you're basically attaching yourself to, you're going to reincarnate for sure. You're going to get another body because that's what you desire. Again, what kind of body? Well, we don't know. I'm not about to say that. I don't judge it, but you can get a general idea from what we're saying, depending on what your desires are. That's generally where you're going to go. So this next quote is from the Bhagavad Gita, and it just explains a little bit about, I'll read it. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery where repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to the spiritual abode never takes birth again. So this verse is basically laying out the two general, in broad terms, the two general destinations. A person can make the decision to get off this wheel of birth and death and attain the spiritual abode, or they can make the decision that, no, I'm not interested in that, I'm just going to keep on. Now, why is it, it's interesting in this, from the highest places to the lowest, they're all considered places of misery. What is that misery? The misery is the temporariness and the uncertainty of it all. You know, take for example the person in the highest, and in terms that we can understand, that might be a really wealthy person, you know, a billionaire in this world. You know, he's got a billionaire. Oh, he's riding high, he's got everything. What's his misery? His misery is knowing that it's going to come to an end. And you think that person's suffering knowing that it's going to come to an end? Of course. He's just thinking all the time, oh, my money, my billions. Can I spend $1 billion and get some health care that will keep me going a while longer? Sorry, man. It doesn't matter how much money you've got, your body will come to an end. So this is the misery that afflicts everybody, and that's why it's called the wheel of birth and death. We go from one to another. And again, especially for people who are not interested in the actual yoga wisdom, they're living their life in a very carefree kind of way. And the more we do that, the less guarantee you've got of having a good material birth. Even the good material births are considered to be, you know, not good in a sense, in that sense I was just describing, because it's an endless cycle. But the people who are not interested to understand this process and how it works are going to live in a very, you know, easy come, easy go kind of way. Yeah, I can do this, I can do that, doesn't matter. They're more or less quite likely will not get a good destination. You know, they might be one of those people who racks up a lot of karma, bad karma, through careless living. And so, you know, again, we can only talk about this in broad terms. We're not going to get into too much detail. There is enough detail there just to broadly understand. So there's, where do we go to next? Yeah, the title of today's talk, which we've just about run out of time, was supposed to be How to Stop Reincarnating. So the way to stop reincarnating is basically to develop our spiritual consciousness. That's simple. Again, it's cause and effect. If your desires are spiritually focused, then you won't need to reincarnate. Because you and again, you don't have to be absolutely perfect in this. So long as your general trend, the general train and track of your life, you know, the majority of your emphasis on your life is to try to develop spiritually, then, you know, that's, if there's some degree of sincerity there, then that's going to be enough. You know, it's not like we have to be perfect. So this is an important point to understand. But I'll get to, so I'll just read this quote here. These two quotes are from the Bhagavad Gita. So these are explaining what this spiritual effort is. The wise, engaged in devotional service, take refuge in the Supreme Soul and free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world. In this way, they can attain the state beyond all miseries. So again, there's a lot of things in these verses, but freeing ourselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of actions. So what is it? You know, most people are acting for their own self-centered benefit. You know, we do things. What's in it for me? You know, I'm like, am I going to get to enjoy this particular material experience or not? So just like ourselves here, we're also, you know, person on the path of yoga, we're also, you know, engaging in actions and so on, right? We're singing and eating. But because these activities are dedicated spiritually, they're dedicated to the Supreme Soul, then there's no bad reaction to it. There's no, you know, karmic, negative karma there. There's no karma that's going to make it so we have to reincarnate. The Supreme Soul said, "For one who adores and loves me, dedicating all his activities unto me, and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, who has fixed his mind upon me, for such a soul I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death." So again, there's many verses like this in the Bhagavad Gita where it's basically saying that if we put our attention onto the Supreme, then that's what delivers us from the ocean of birth and death. So all our chanting, all our kirtan and so on, it's not just this sort of mechanical meditation, you know, Om or Krishna or whatever it may be. It's actually our singing with devotion and love is what carries us through beyond this wheel of birth and death. We develop our natural relationship, or we really re-experience our natural relationship with the Supreme. So when that gets established, then that is what frees us. Just like it said here, frees us from the wheel of birth and death. So there's another question now. I'm just... there's another question here which someone may have, and that is, what happens to guys like us? You know, people who understand all this stuff to some degree, and we're engaging in meditation, and we're trying to develop spiritually and so on. But, you know, maybe we're feeling like, you know, maybe some of us are feeling, I'm not sure I even want to get off the wheel of birth and death. I feel like, you know, maybe, yeah, okay, I understand that, but I've still got a lot of material desires, still got a lot of things I want to do in this, you know. So what happens to such a person who's kind of like got a foot in each camp, so to speak? And I think, you know, if we're honest, a lot of us are like that. You know, we're kind of like, yeah, we're trying to engage in yoga, you know, the spiritual side of yoga. We're trying to develop our spiritual love and so on. But at the same time, we have our material desires as well. So this is what's said here. So, in other words, we're developing spiritual consciousness to some extent, but maybe not fully. So this is what happens to such a person. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, the person automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavour in making further progress, being washed of all contamination, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal. So everybody
Does that mean eventually?
follow that.
Does that mean eventually?
Eventually. So what's being said here is that even if you haven't got to that point where your spiritual momentum is enough to carry you over the line, so to speak, in your next birth you'll have to reincarnate. But you'll take birth in such a way that you'll automatically be attracted to yoga principles, you would automatically be attracted to spiritual understanding, and it'll probably be arranged that you come into contact with these teachings so that you can, make further progress, as it said. And that might take not just one, it might happen a few times. It might take a number of births, but basically it's said that whatever progress you have made spiritually in any particular life, that is never lost. It's not like sometimes people say you only get one chance to make it spiritually, otherwise you're finished forever. No, this is, it's ridiculous. It's said that God is very, very compassionate and forgiving, so he's always looking for a chance. The Supreme Soul is always looking for an excuse to make it easy for us. It's not going to come down heavy, and especially not on people who are at least attempting to develop spiritually. It's just, isn't it said like that? God is very compassionate and loving and forgiving. Yes. So he's always looking for an excuse to make it easy for us. And that excuse is simply when he hears somebody engaging in this meditation, calling out, Krishna, Krishna, Govinda, or, if a person's following some, any kind of religious path, if they're calling on the names of the Supreme in one way or another, there's many different names. Here we mainly chant the Hare Krishna mantra, but, in different places, in different, cultures, they call on it. That's all good. So long as the sincere attempt to develop that loving relationship is there, that's the deal. That's it. That's all it needs to be. And again, even if we're not perfect in that desire, we'll be again given another chance. In my life, I more or less directly experienced that. I was like wandering around, just completely lost for many years, up until, my early 20s. And then I stumbled into this, and oh yeah, I'm back. I know this. I like it. So maybe some of you experience that. I know some people experience that with chanting. They come in and hear chanting, and immediately it's like, what is this? This is different. And it is. So I'm going over, but I'm just going to finish off with one last quote, and this is a really interesting point. I've sort of titled this little part here, given it the caption, Beyond the Desire for Liberation. So, we're talking here, we've been talking about, getting off the wheel of birth and death, attaining the spiritual world, and how, this is the goal, this should be the goal. But there's actually a higher goal, and we do this by developing our spiritual love, our love for the Supreme and our love for others. But beyond that desire, there's actually, it's said in the Yoga Wisdom text that there's a higher desire, a higher attainment, and that is when a person perfectly understands all this, but they're actually not caring whether they get off of this wheel of birth and death or not. They don't care. So why is that? Why would that be the case? That's the case because their devotion and their love, spiritual, which gets them off the wheel of birth and death, is so selfless, is so not interested in themselves, that they more or less are happy enough to just remain in the material world, take another birth, not for the purpose of, here's the key, not for the purpose of enjoying material life like everybody else who reincarnates, but for the purpose of passing on spiritual wisdom to others, to help others. Because when we hear the spiritual wisdom, we're helped. You know, without this, what do we know? We're nothing. We're wandering around like idiots, like I was many years ago before I was fortunate enough to receive this information. So I'll just read this last verse. It's very wonderful. Those great souls who are solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Soul never fear any condition of life. For them, heavenly conditions, hellish conditions, and liberation from material existence are all the same. They are only interested in the service of the Supreme Soul. So, pretty nice. So in other words, such a person is also liberated, but it's a different type of liberation. Their liberation is grounded in the fact that no matter where they are, geographically, so to speak, their consciousness is always spiritualized. It's always focused spiritually. So in that sense, they're always liberated, and that's why they're not worried about whether they're in the material world or where in the material world. They're always focused on the Supreme. And so I thought that would be a nice note to finish this talk on. You know, so there's a lot in it, and you know, how are we going there, Rasalila?
Just 5 minutes.
Oh, good.
We're
Okay.
finishing it up now.
Okay, good. So we got a. If anybody, you know, there was a lot there, which you know, but if anybody's got any other questions, we've got a few minutes. I'll try and answer.
What
Lizzie.
happens if, like you said, in the past you were making some bad decisions? And
Yeah.
What happens if, like, then you just died before you got a chance to do what you're doing now, before you got given that information? And then, like, I don't know. So you give up.
Well, it depends. It's not just the information itself. We've all kind of got a certain consciousness already. You know, even while we're making bad decisions. You know, and some people, we just don't know. Sometimes we don't even know ourselves. Like in my life, I was making a lot of bad decisions when I was, you know, so many bad decisions. And not just bad decisions, like horrible decisions that were just, you know, very self-centered and very not caring about other people. You know, like I was a bad person in many ways. But then when I heard this, it kind of clicked. But it clicked because, you know, deep inside me, there must have been something that was, that the clicking occurred kind of thing, you know what I mean? And so what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we don't even know what our real desires are. You can be doing a whole bunch of really horrible materialistic things externally, but deep down you may be, you know, have this kind of craving for something better. So, or on the other hand, a person may be externally appear to be very spiritual and so on and so forth, but actually deep within themselves they might not, you know, they might still be very materialistic. So it's kind of like there's no real, you know, rule you can lay down about this. It just depends on the individual. As far as a person who's been making bad decisions and haven't heard this knowledge, again, it depends on the individual. It may be that even though they're making bad decisions or horrible decisions which are hurting people, it could be that their heart is very soft and so on. So even though they might not have officially heard this, it could still be, you know, a good result in a sense. But for people who are actually taking up meditation to one degree or another, if anybody's ever said Krishna once, or, you know, any name of the Supreme, even once, with a, you know, sincere, then you're more or less guaranteed a material, a human form of life at least in your next life. Guaranteed, even if it's just for 5 minutes in your life you felt a little bit spiritually inclined and the rest of it might have been, you know, not interested at all. Even that's why I was saying Krishna is very, very really looking for any excuse to make it so that a person gets a good result. You know, if there's just a little tinge of, you know, sincerity, and even just, you know, for just a few minutes in your life, you know, there's going to be good that comes from it, and, you know, you'll proceed, and then gradually you can go further and further. Is that kind of getting to what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't need to worry too much either. It's sort of like, yeah, we're recommended, but to do certain things, especially, you know, if we take up meditation, like the Kirtan meditation that we do here, that's more or less going to fast track a person to very good results. But sometimes, you know, again, that can be going on a very subtle kind of way, which we might not even be aware of fully. So it's said that actually Krishna, God, knows our own hearts better than we do. You know what I mean? It's an important thing to understand. Sometimes we think we are a certain way, but no, might not be the case. So, everybody else? Anyone?
I know this might
Dave.
sound silly, but
Yeah.
if a person's soul is eternal,
Yeah.
how is it possible to murder somebody? Because you can't really kill them.
Exactly. That's a point. You're quoting the Bhagavad Gita basically, that the soul can never be slain, only the body. So I can kill someone's body, right? You can murder someone's body. You can't actually murder the person. You're absolutely correct. But still, murdering a person's body is considered to be not a good thing. You know, here you are living your life, and I come and kill you. It's like, what? You know, it's a crime. It's a great crime, and I'll have to, you know, pay that back karmically in some way. Does that make sense?
So if I was hurting somebody,
Yeah.
is that their karma?
That's their karma. Yeah, it is. But, you know, you're getting into it's a complex question, you know, as far as karma. It's like we're never going to unravel it all completely. It's not like, you know, even from moment to moment, there's different things going on a very minute level with all the organisms in our body and so on. I don't know. I don't know all the details of how it all works out. I don't think anybody has. I don't know that anybody can understand it all completely, but the general principle is there that, yeah, you are paying it back in a sense, but you can say that's from his point of view, but from your point of view, no, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to just take someone's life. Unless, and then again, you get into all kind of complexities here, like, say, for example, in a war situation or a situation where you know, say, I always give this example, say we get a home invasion happening here and a gang of men come in with their machetes and stuff and start hacking people and so on. This happens. Now, if you turn out to be a warrior of some kind of martial artist and you can defeat those guys, then there's no bad karma on your part. You're doing a good thing. See, so it's like each situation, there's no black and white, oh, you killed somebody, that's bad, you get back. It depends what the situation is. Like if you're a policeman and you see some crime going on, if you're a policeman and you see a girl getting raped and you just don't do anything, oh, I'm going to be peaceful, then what's that? That's bad karma for you. If you act to stop them, that's good karma for you. So, you could go on and on about this and that and that and that. You're not going to work it out. There's just different situations. There's a general rule there that what if you actually do create certain kinds of karma based on good action or bad action, that's going to have to be paid back. And again, this talk about karma, that only applies in the material situation. It's another point that we haven't really had time to discuss. But basically, by developing our spiritual consciousness, it lifts us out of the whole world of karma. There is no karma anymore. It's all just pure spiritual action. So I hope that's sufficient. We can talk more if you like. So everybody's got their dinner now, so maybe we'll leave the chant, and we've gone way over time, sorry. So we'll leave it at that. And okay, namaste everybody, thank you. And so we'll just have our break and then we'll be back with more chanting.
Mantras, and when I'm not chanting, give a big loud response. Cool. So I'm just going to do a couple of prayers to my spiritual teachers. So at the beginning, some will know it and some may not. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine. Your turn. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrindam. Gopala Govinda Rama Madana Mohana 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 Nityananda, Nityananda, Nityananda Hari Bol. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Hari Bol. Nityananda, Nityananda, Nityananda Hari Bol. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Hari Bol. Nityananda, Nityananda, Nityananda Hari Bol. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Hari Bol. Nityananda, Nityananda, Nityananda Hari Bol. Chaitanya, Chaitanya, Chaitanya Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Your turn. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. 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 Together, Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Together again. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Together one more time. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Gopala, Govinda Rama, Madana Mohana. Cool, thank you. That's very beautiful chanting. I'd like to invite Jiva Krishnadas to come forward, and is that what's happening? You leading the chant, Jiva? Yep, okay. Jiva Krishnadas, please come forward.
Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Adana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Adana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Adana Mohana. Gauranga Haribo Gauranga 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 Haribo. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Jana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Jana Mohana, Gopala, Govinda. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. See you later, Kath. See you later. Okay, see you using Haribo. So we're going to go for a few minutes longer. Gopala, Gopala. Try again. Gopala, 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 Govinda, 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 Gopala, 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 Govinda, 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 Govinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Haribol. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Haribol. Hare Krishna. Okay. I think we're done for tonight. Namaste, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Hope you had a nice time. We'll be back. Actually, Easter's next weekend. We'll be closed all Easter except for Sunday to be open. So, you're welcome to So, yeah, so everything's on as normal this week up until Thursday, and then Friday closed, Saturday closed, Sunday open, Monday closed. Okay, so nice to see you all, and I hope we can do it again soon. Haribol. I think we got